Alright, so I got the old McCulloch here ripped apart. So here's the thing. I was cutting some stumps, trying to get the stumps cut out, and I knew I was going to hit dirt, and that's why I was using this saw. This saw runs the 3/8 pitch chain, and that chain does much better with any type of dirt, and then hand sharpening it, it just seems to work better. Whereas the Echo that I have, the 500, that's got the .325 pitch chain, and that you hit any type of dirt, and then it just doesn't work very well. It gets dull really quick, and you just can't get it sharp again afterwards. So that I just use for cutting up stuff that I know is clean, usually for dropping. And this stuff is what I'll do if I'm doing any type of like rounds or blocking or anything like that. The problem with this is, one, it's old. Two, it doesn't stay running. And I did go through like the carburetor, got a whole gasket kit. That there was a new fuel line. What else did I do? I don't, whatever there was like that could have dried out because the saw sat for a while before it got used again. I did that. So recently now it wouldn't idle. So like you could start it, but the way you'd have to start it is with the throttle locked. And if you choke it, it'd pop off first go around, no problem, and the thing would run just fine, wide open, ran great. As soon as you left it go, it would idle down, and then it would just quit. So I was watching some videos this morning on YouTube, getting some ideas. And the best thing I did was I just started messing with it a little bit. I got to a point where it wouldn't start at all. So then I went too far, so I turned back, and then I did some turning on the idle screw here. I got it to where it was idling, so I figured that's pretty good. And then I went on the low side here. I don't know if you can see that or not. It says low and high. There's a screw in there. I went to the low screw and I just started turning till the RPMs came up, and there again kind of played with it a little bit, went left and right with that screw until I found kind of the spot where it idled real nice. So I think I got that figured out. Why the settings changed, that I don't understand, because when I first set the thing up it worked great, it would idle and there was no problems, but I don't know if over time the screws turn in there, because the saw does vibrate a lot. It's in a pretty obnoxious saw, but it's like you're constantly making adjustments, or maybe there is something else that's like dried out in there that I missed, or maybe it didn't come with that like carb rebuild kit, and that's why it doesn't want to stay idling. Maybe the I don't know. I don't think the fuel tank could be sucking air because it would be leaking gas otherwise. But I don't know. It could be anything, really, I guess. But that's the way I got it set up. So then what I was doing here next was I took the bar here, which is, this thing is really getting worn. But it was obviously full of sand because that's what I was cutting into. So put it in this universal solvent, which would be 40-to-1 mixed gas, because that's what I had this morning. Did the same thing with the chain, and then what I'm going to do here is get this thing put back together, and then I'm going to stick it in the vise here and sharpen the chain. Alright, so this has a replaceable sprocket nose. There's a lube point here with that little hole. I don't have a grease fitting to go in there, so what I did was just take some grease from the grease gun, and I kind of packed that in there and then spun that sprocket around. Obviously it gets chain oil, but you're supposed to keep that lubed. I don't know, I'll probably get like a needle oiler or grease fitting to fit in there, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to use this saw, just because it's obnoxious, it's heavy, and what else? Oh, it's heavy. It's really heavy. There's no plastic on this saw to speak of. It's all like metal of some sort. Even this cover here, this is also metal. I mean, it might be aluminum, but still, it's heavy. So anyway, and this part here, the bar, very heavy as well. But I guess that's why it's still around, because it is all metal surfaces. But anyway, so I'm looking at getting a newer Echo saw. So this is the saw that I bought to replace that McCulloch that I was using. Now, when I told the guy what I was using, he said this was at the dealer that sold these saws. He explained to me that this saw would be the replacement. A couple things. What I found out after the fact is that McCulloch is closer to I don't know, a 64 cc, and I think this is 54. So this is obviously smaller. And then, like I was saying, the pitch on the chain, this is a smaller chain, and it dulls quicker. It cuts. It's good for dropping, but any type of dirt or sand on anything you're cutting, it dulls instantly. So that way I'm not too impressed with it. But it's good for dropping stuff, and it's lightweight and you can get in there. So I was a little frustrated with the dealer that I ended up buying this saw. Granted, this saw I think was either 400 on the nose or a little under 400, because I hit it when they did that 20% one-time sale from Echo. I did talk to Echo representative at a farm technology show, and I told him what saw I was using, and first of all, he was really impressed with that McCulloch saw. He's just like, keep that thing running, those are amazing saws. And he said the replacement that would be from an Echo, he said to step up to a 3/8 pitch is going to be like a 600, which is like a 60 or 64 cc or 62, and either a 600 or they came out with a new model which is like a CS 620. So I think this coming Saturday I'm gonna either order one or pick one up if they have them in stock. There's a dealer around here running the 20% one-day sale, and that's definitely what I'm going to get with. And the reason for that is, if you look at this saw, obviously there's much more plastic on it. It's a lot lighter than what that other saw is. The other saw is just, it's really heavy, and after using it a while it just tires you out. So I want something lighter. And then again, I got issues with it, you know, not idling. Maybe I got that now, it'll start idling again, it'd run better, but it just seems to be a lot of messing around with that thing. You definitely feel like a man running that other saw though. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Alright, so I'm gonna start it up here just so you can see that it idles now. Like I said, it does a much better job. Probably do some more fine tuning on it once you have the bar on, and then actually running it into some wood and stuff like that. But when I pull it here now, it'll actually just stay idling, which is, it wouldn't do that before. Still think it could use some fine tuning. To me, the throttle response seems a little odd, but I got it to idle, so I'm on the right path to getting it close there. Alright, so I just got it running here. I got the chain put back on. I went and sharpened the chain. I took some off the rakers here as well. I think the file I used wasn't the right size though. I may have mixed them up, because it didn't quite get in all the way. I think they call this the gullet. It's like it only took out the top part, so I think I may need to find a different file, but it's definitely better than what it was. Running it, like I said, now it starts first pull every time and it idles, but if you have any type of like 2-cycle experience, like it didn't have that, like when it was idling, that like pop. It just seemed like it was kind of like running smooth. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it didn't have that pop, so when you hit the throttle, you just knew it was going to hesitate. So I did some more adjusting on that the low idle screw, and I got it to pop. I mean, it's got to be like, it's just like pop, 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 and then when you hit the throttle, it'll just instantly respond. Before, it was just kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't popping. It seemed like it was running obviously, but it was just running too smooth, if that makes any sense. And then when you'd hit the throttle, it kind of would bog, and then it would rev up. So you knew something wasn't quite exactly set right. The high idle, I don't think you can really do any adjustment with that unless you're actually putting a load on it and actually cutting into something. So I'm going to do some more adjusting once I get this thing out the woods, but for now I'm going to call this good so I can get this thing back in action. And then probably the next time this thing's out in the woods, there'll probably be this and 2 Echo saws, and we'll see how that new saw works.